Eli had walked deep into the alien jungle. His boots crunched against the blue grass, and strange glowing bugs flew past his head. He had come here for peace, for quiet, to escape from a war that had taken too much. Now he was part of a research team, but he liked to go out alone. That day he went farther than usual. The jungle was wild, beautiful. But something felt off. It was too quiet. Then he heard it. Rustle, snap. He stopped. His hand moved to the knife on his belt. Another sound. This time, footsteps, light, barefoot. He turned, eyes scanning the trees. Nothing. And then she appeared. She stepped out from behind a tree. She wasn't human, but she looked close enough, except for her glowing lavender eyes, faint silver skin, and long white hair tangled with leaves. She was naked. Completely naked. No cloth, no armor. No shame. Her face showed no fear. Only curiosity. She tilted her head, staring at Eli like he was a strange one. She took one step forward, then another. Eli was frozen. Her body was thin, like she hadn't eaten well in a long time. Her feet were muddy. Scratches ran across her legs. Her arms were raised slightly, as if ready to touch whatever was new. "Hey," Eli said gently. "You okay?" She blinked. Then looked down at herself, then looked back at him. Nothing. No reaction. She didn't know what okay meant. She didn't even know she was naked. Eli carefully took off his jacket. He held it out like a gift. "Here," he said, stepping forward slowly. "Put this on." She didn't take it. Instead, she sniffed it. Then touched it with her fingers. The fabric must have been something new to her, and she rubbed it between her palms. Then, without warning, she reached out and touched Eli's shirt. Her fingers ran across the front, feeling the seams, the buttons. Then, she mimicked the motion on her own chest, trying to understand why he had fabric, and she didn't. Eli didn't move. He let her explore. Finally, she looked back at the jacket, then looked at him again. She opened her arms. Eli gently wrapped the jacket around her shoulders, and that's when she froze. Her body stiffened. Her glowing eyes widened. Her hands clutched the jacket tight, and then she started to cry. Silently. No sobs, no sound. Just tears running down her silver cheeks. Eli's heart sank. She sank to the ground, still holding the jacket tightly. Her body folded over, knees to chest, head down. The jacket covered her now. But it wasn't just about warmth. It was like something inside her had finally been touched. Eli knelt beside her. "It's okay. You're safe now. I promise." She didn't respond, but she didn't pull away. A minute passed. Maybe two. Then she slowly looked up. She touched her face, as if confused by her own tears. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. Her eyes locked onto his. Not with fear, not with hate, with something else. Something almost like hope. Eli reached out, gently brushing a leaf from her hair. "What happened to you?" He whispered. She didn't answer, but something deep in her gaze told him she couldn't even begin to explain. She stood again, wobbly, slow, still clutching the jacket around her. She looked to the trees, then to him, then back again. Then she pointed to herself, and tilted her head. Like a child asking a silent question, Eli thought for a moment. "Do you want a name?" he asked. She didn't understand the words, but she waited. He smiled softly. "Nova, that's what I'll call you." She blinked once, slowly, then, without warning, she reached out and held his hand, hooked tight, like she didn't want to let go. That one simple act. A jacket, a name, a hand held. It had already changed everything, and neither of them knew yet. But Nova's past was darker than Eli could imagine. and her future had just begun. The forest was quiet again. Nova walked beside Eli, holding his hand tightly like a small child. She still wore his jacket, wrapped around her thin body like it was something holy. The sleeves were too long and it hung down past her knees, but she didn't care. She didn't speak. She didn't even hum. She only watched him watched. His steps and copied every move. If he stepped over a log, she did too. If he ducked under a branch, she followed, never letting go of his hand. Eli looked at her often, worried. He wanted to ask her questions. Who was she? Where had she come from? Was she alone? But he stayed silent. He had seen war, but he had seen scared children. Nova didn't just look lost. She looked like someone who had never been found to begin with. As they walked, he saw her studying the jungle. She touched tree trunks. She crouched to stare at bugs. Once, she even mimicked a bird's call with surprising accuracy. But she never smiled, and she never let go of the jacket. By the time they reached Eli's camp, the sun was low. It wasn't much. A small tent, some gear, a solar panel, and a metal container with food and supplies. He had set it up for one person, not for an alien girl, who had never seen clothes before. Nova stopped at the edge of the camp. Her eyes darted around, suspicious. Careful. Eli knelt beside her. It's okay, he said softly. This is my place. You're safe here. She tilted her head, then took one small step forward. Inside the camp, she acted like she was on another planet. Everything was strange. The tent made her flinch. The zippers confused her. She stared at the solar panel for a long time, then looked at the sun, as if trying to understand. Eli offered her food, a soft protein bar. She sniffed it, poked it, then finally took a bite. She chewed slowly, her face unsure, but she didn't spit it out. Eli watched her. You don't know what anything is, do you? She looked at him, chewing. Then she nodded just once. It was the first real response she had given. Later that night, a cold wind blew through the trees. Eli started a fire near the camp. Nova sat across from him, knees pulled to her chest, jacket still tight around her. The orange flames danced in her eyes. She watched the fire like it was a creature. When the flames popped, she flinched. When smoke curled upward, she reached toward it, trying to touch it. Eli handed her a blanket. It's softer than the jacket, he said. She looked at it, then at him. Then slowly she pulled it around her shoulders, layering it over the jacket. She still said nothing, but her eyes. They were softer now. That night, as Eli lay in his tent, he couldn't sleep. Nova was just outside, resting under the stars near the fire. She had chosen to sleep out there, not in the tent. Maybe she was afraid. Maybe she didn't understand what a tent was. Then he heard it. A sound, soft, guttural, like someone speaking. Underwater, he peeked out of the tent flap. Nova was curled up under the blanket, but her lips were moving. She was sleep-talking. Eli crawled closer, careful not to scare her. The sounds grew clearer. It wasn't a language he knew, but it was language. Alien words. Maybe old ones. Maybe ones she hadn't spoken in a long time. Then her body jerked. No, she whispered, now in English. No cage. No take. She was dreaming. Or remembering. Her fists clenched the blanket. She shook her head side to side. A tear slipped down her cheek. Eli's heart broke. He didn't touch her. He only whispered, "You're safe now, Nova. No one will take you. I promise." Slowly, her body calmed. The whispers stopped. Her breathing softened. She slept again. In the morning, the sky was clear. Birds sang strange songs in the trees. Nova sat by the ashes of the fire, holding the jacket to her face. She looked up when Eli stepped out of the tent, and then very slowly she smiled. It was small, gentle, not wide or bright, but it was real. Eli smiled back. "Good morning." Nova touched her chest, then touched his, then touched the jacket. She didn't say a word, but her message was clear. "You gave me this. You gave me safety." You, Eli nodded. "Let's teach you more today." And so, they began a new walk, not through the jungle this time, but through language, trust, and something Nova had never been given before: life. The morning was quiet, full of strange bird calls and buzzing light from the twin suns above. The jungle around Eli's camp was alive, but peaceful. Inside the camp, something even more strange and more beautiful was happening. Nova was standing near a mirror Eli had fixed onto a crate. It was old and cracked, but it showed enough. She was staring at her reflection, not blinking, not moving, just watching herself. Eli stood nearby, unsure what to say. Nova touched her face, then her neck. She pressed her hands over the jacket he had given her, now dirty, but still wrapped tightly around her. Then, slowly, she looked down at her body. She touched her chest, then her stomach, then her legs. Eli could tell she was trying to understand herself, like she had never really seen her own shape before. Her eyes went wide as she moved her fingers over the fabric. She pulled at it, twisted it, then looked at Eli. She pointed to the mirror, then to him, then back to herself. Eli smiled softly. "Yes, that's you. That's how you look." She tilted her head. Then, to his surprise, she opened the jacket a little and peered under it, and frowned. Then she closed it quickly, pulled it tight again, and looked away. Eli gently stepped forward. "Clothes help us. They protect us. They're not just fabric." He pointed at her jacket. "Warm?" Then to her bare feet. "Cold." Nova repeated, "Cold." Eli blinked. It was the first word she'd ever spoken in English. He knelt in front of her. "Cold? Yes, that's cold." Nova touched the ground. "Cold." Eli smiled. "You're learning fast." Then she pointed to the jacket again. "Safe." Eli froze. He hadn't taught her that word. Not today, not yesterday. "Safe," he repeated softly. She nodded. Safe. Eli felt something heavy in his chest. That one word held so much, more than she could explain. Maybe more than he could understand. After breakfast, Eli brought out an old notepad. He drew simple pictures: sun, tree, water, food. Nova watched carefully. Then he wrote words beside them. She stared at the symbols like they were magic. "When?" He pointed to food. She smiled and grabbed a fruit. When he pointed to tree, she ran and touched one. But when he drew a picture of a man holding a weapon, her face changed. Her lips tightened. Her eyes went dull, and she backed away. Eli quickly flipped the page. "Sorry, it's okay. No weapons." Nova nodded slowly, but her eyes didn't brighten again. Later, she found a small bird's nest near the camp. She picked up one of the tiny broken eggshells and cradled it gently in her palm. Her fingers were so careful, so soft. She knelt, whispered something in her own language, then buried the shell under a leaf. Eli watched from a distance. There was more in her than he'd expected. She wasn't just learning, she remembered. She felt, and that scared him a little, because it meant she had lost something before. That evening, while Eli cooked, Nova sat close by, quietly drawing in the dirt. She used a stick to carve shaped circles, lines, curves. Eli noticed something strange. The symbol looked familiar. He walked over and stared. It wasn't random. It was exact, like a brand or a logo. "Where did you see that?" he asked softly. Nova looked up. "Home," she whispered. Eli's blood ran cold. That wasn't a name. That was a word she'd been taught, maybe forced to learn. Nova. He crouched beside her. Who did this to you? She didn't answer. Instead, she reached into the pocket of the jacket and pulled out something smaller metal tag, dirty and half-bent. It had alien writing on one side. Eli carefully took it from her. He turned it over and froze. It had a symbol. He recognized the same one found in secret labs on dead war planets, places where alien prisoners were studied. Modified, bred. He looked. Back at Nova, she was watching his face now, her eyes searching for fear, for rejection. But Eli didn't pull away. He didn't drop the tag. He just nodded. Okay, I won't ask again. Not until you want to tell me. Nova gave the smallest of smiles. It was shaky, but it was real. That night, before sleep, Nova walked to Eli's side and held out the tag. He shook his head. Keep it. It's yours. She frowned. No, no more. Then she dropped it into the fire. The metal hissed, then blackened, and as it burned, Nova stood tall still in that oversized jacket, still barefoot, still half lost in this world. But her eyes said something new now. I don't belong to them anymore. Eli stood beside her and quietly whispered, tomorrow we'll get you real clothes. Ones you choose. Something you like. Nova turned to him. She touched the jacket again, then pointed to her heart. Safe. Asterisk. The next morning, Eli laid out a set of simple clothes on a folded blanket, soft gray pants, a loose shirt, and a belt to hold it all in place. Nothing fancy, just something clean. Something hers. Nova stood a few steps away, eyes wide. She looked at the clothes like they were alive. Eli smiled gently. You can wear these. They're yours. She tilted her head. Her fingers reached out, trembling slightly. She picked up the shirt and held it to her face, rubbing the fabric across her cheek. Soft, she whispered. That's right. Eli nodded. Soft. Nova turned her back to him and slowly took off the old jacket. It slid off her shoulders like she was shedding the past. Then, carefully, she put on the shirt. It hung loose, but it covered her. She struggled with the sleeves, then looked to Eli for help. He stepped over quietly and helped her roll them up. Then she pulled on the pants. They were too long, but she tied them around her waist, clumsy but proud. Eli handed her the belt. Try this. She examined it like it was a puzzle, then smiled as she figured it out on her own. When she was dressed, she stepped in front of the mirror again and froze. Her reflection stared back. She reached out and touched the glass. Me? She asked softly. Eli stood behind her, nodding. Yes, that's you. She raised her arms, looked at the sleeves, turned her head side to side. Then slowly her lips curled into a smile. A real one. For the first time, Nova saw herself as someone complete. Not just a body, not just a creature, someone with clothes. Identity, choice. She whispered a word in her own language. Eli didn't understand it, but it sounded like a prayer. Later that day, Eli gave her a higher buff. At first, she didn't know what to do. She poked herself in the cheek with it. Then she tried brushing the grass. But once Eli showed her, she began brushing her hair slowly. Tangles came loose. Leaves fell out. Her hair, white as snow, flowed down her back. She stared into the mirror, again, brushing carefully, like she was painting herself into the person she wanted to become. That afternoon, Nova sat in the dirt again, drawing more strange shapes. Eli watched as she carefully carved symbols into the ground. This time, it weren't like the brand from before. These were ... different, rounder, softer, more like writing. Is that your language? Eli asked. Nova nodded. Can you teach me? She paused. Then she drew a symbol that looked like two arms reaching out, touching. She pointed to it. then to Eli, then to herself. "What does it mean?" he asked. She tapped her chest. "Bond?" Eli nodded slowly. "A connection." She smiled again. "Safe. ... Bond." But the peace didn't last that evening. While cleaning out an old crate, Eli found something that made his breath catch. A small glowing chip tucked between toolkits. A memory core. He plugged it into his scanner. Video files. Old research logs. He clicked the first one. A cold voice began. Subject 42. Female. Obedience level low. Intelligence stable. Memory reset in progress. The screen showed a young girl Nova tied to a wall. Naked, afraid. Tubes in her arms. Metal collar. Around her neck, Eli shut it off. He couldn't watch more. His hands shook. His jaw clenched. That place. Whoever made those files, they didn't just study her. They broke her. He stepped outside. Nova was standing at the edge of the trees, watching the sunset. He walked to her slowly. "Nova." She turned to him, sensing something. Eli crouched beside her. "I saw a video of ... before." Her expression didn't change. She only whispered, "Bad place, not home." He nodded. "I know, they made me forget," she said softly. "No name, no words, only ... obey." Her voice trembled, but her eyes burned with strength. Eli took her hand. "But you're free now. You're not what they made you." She looked down at their hands, then whispered, "You gave me clothes. But more than that, you gave me me." Eli didn't know what to say. He just held her hand tighter. That night, Nova placed something beside the fire. The old jacket folded neatly. She looked at it, then at Eli. "First safe," she said, "but now I make my own safe." He smiled. "That jacket helped you start, but you're not that girl anymore." Nova stared into the fire again, and for the first time, Eli noticed something new in her posture - dignity. She was becoming someone different. Now, not a broken subject, not a wild creature, she was becoming herself. Days passed peacefully. Nova had begun to laugh now quietly, awkwardly, but it was real. She helped Eli cook, washed dishes in the stream, and even tried to make clothes from old cloth scraps. Most of them didn't fit well, but she didn't mind. Every thread was part of her new world. Eli taught her more words. Sky, leaf, thank you, sunset. She even made jokes, sometimes pointing at bugs and calling them food. Then laughing when Eli made a face. It felt like they had carved out a small world just for the two of them, safe, hidden, peaceful. But peace never lasts long. One morning, Nova was gathering water when she stopped suddenly. Her eyes locked onto the sky. High above, a sharp silver shape cut through the clouds. A ship. It was silent, smooth, and far too clean to be native to this planet. Eli saw it too. His chest tightened. He grabbed his binoculars and looked closer. No insignia, no ID, but the design, he'd seen it before. Back during the war. Private labs. Black Ops. Genetic research vessels. Nova dropped the water canister. She backed away, staring at the ship like it was a ghost. Nova. Eli moved closer. Do you recognize it? Her lips trembled. Then she whispered, Cage. Eli didn't ask anything else. The ship circled once, then slowed. A soft hum filled the air, followed by a faint pulse of light scanning the jungle below. Eli pulled Nova behind a tree. They're looking for something. Nova was shaking. Not thing. Me. Why now? How did they find you? She pointed at the sky. They smell. They always smell. Track you. She nodded. Metal? Inside me, Eli's eyes widened. You have a tracker. She touched her arm near the shoulder, small, deep. I feel it, ... always. He cursed under his breath. I should have checked. Nova's eyes filled with tears. You gave me name. Clothes, but I still belong. No, Eli said, grabbing her hand. You belong nowhere but where you choose to be. She looked up at him, trembling. He clenched his jaw. We'll get it out. Back at camp, Eli searched his med kit. He had basic tools, nothing fancy but enough. Nova sat still on a flat rock. Her shirt was pulled down on one side, exposing her upper arm. Her silver skin shimmered faintly. Eli found the spot hard to see. But just under the skin, a small, unnatural bump. He sterilized the blade. This will hurt, he said, but it ends here. After this, they can't find you again. Nova nodded once. I trust. Just 2 words, but they filled him with purpose. The cut was small, but deep. Nova didn't cry out. She only bit her lip and squeezed Eli's hand. He pulled out a tiny black chip, no bigger than a seed. The moment it left her body, it blinked, then died. Gone, Eli said. You're clean. Nova looked at the chip, breathing hard. Then she spit on it. Not me. Never again. Eli smiled. Damn right. But their relief didn't last. Just before sunset, a low rumble returned from the sky. The ship was back. Closer this time, hovering, watching. Then a loud voice echoed through the trees. Subject 42. Identify, comply, return. For assessment. Nova's eyes went wide. She dropped to her knees, covering her ears. Nitrogen monoxide. She screamed, no cage, no test. Eli stepped in front of her. You don't belong to them, the voice repeated. Return now or force will be used. Eli grabbed his communicator and turned it on, pointing it toward the ship. This is Eli Voss, human civilian. There's no Subject 42 here. She's free. You have no right. A beam of light shot down near the camp, scorching the earth. It was a warning. Not the last one. Eli looked down at Nova. She was trembling, but her eyes were fierce. He knelt beside her. We have to run. We'll go deeper. Somewhere they can't follow. But Nova shook her head. No more running. She stood, shaking, barefoot, proud. She faced the ship in the sky and shouted in her native tongue. Long lie. Sharp words, full of pain and rage. Then she screamed. One word loud enough for Eli to understand. Free. The ship paused. It hovered. Quiet. Then it pulled back, vanished into the clouds. Eli couldn't believe it. Nova had stood up to them, and they left. That night, the stars shone brighter than before. Nova sat by the fire, eyes soft, hands folded. She turned to Eli and whispered, You made me see... ... I am not what they made. He nodded. You're Nova, the girl who stood under a ship and didn't flinch. She smiled, and for the first time she leaned against him, not out of fear. But peace, the next morning, Eli packed a bag. Today, he said, we go to the trading post. Nova tilted her head. Post, people. Market, clothes, food, tools, you'll see. Nova blinked. She had only known trees, birds, and quiet. The idea of other people made her nervous. But Eli was smiling. She trusted that. She nodded. I follow. Eli handed her a pair of boots. These will help. Sharp. Rocks out there. Nova touched the boots like they were precious jewels. Then, awkwardly, she slid her feet in. Her steps were strange at first, heavy and clunky, but after a few tries, she walked proudly, like someone stepping into her future. The trading post wasn't far. but it felt like another world. Metal structures, old textiles, alien machines, and voices, so many voices. Aliens of different species walked around, trading supplies, shouting prices, laughing, arguing. Smoke filled the air from cooking tents. Music played from an old speaker. Nova held Eli's hand tightly. She looked left and right, her silver eyes wide with wonder and fear. She saw a child laugh and chase a drone. She saw a vendor flipping food over hot fire. She saw an old alien woman sitting quietly, weaving threads into a long scarf. So much life, so much she didn't understand. "Safe?" she asked quietly. Eli squeezed her hand. "With me? Always." They entered a clothes shop, run by a kind old man named Russell. Eli nodded at him. "She needs clothes? Her own. Something beautiful." Nova looked confused. "Beautiful." Russell smiled. "Ah, yes. The first dress is always special." He showed her colorful fabric soft blues, glowing greens, shining golds. Nova stared. Her fingers touched each one gently. Then she paused in front of one dress. It was white, light as cloud, with simple silver threads running down the sides. It looked like something from a forgotten story. She reached for it slowly. "This, she whispered. Eli smiled. "It suits you." Russell nodded. "Go on, girl. Try it." In the small fitting room, Nova put on the dress. She stared at herself in the mirror. For a moment, she didn't move. She didn't breathe. The dress fit perfectly. It flowed with her every step. It didn't just cover her, it transformed her. She stepped out slowly. Eli turned, and for the first time, he saw her as more than a survivor. She was radiant, not because of the dress, but because of the way she held her head, the way her eyes no longer searched for danger, but for meaning. "Nova," he said softly. "You look?" She interrupted. "Me." He blinked. "I look like me," she said, and he understood as they walked through the post. Eyes followed them. Some people stared too long. Others whispered, "She's one of them, isn't she?" From those labs should have been destroyed like the rest. Nova heard. Her steps slowed. Her hand tightened on Eli's. But she didn't look down. She kept walking. Proud, they stopped. At a quiet food stall, a woman there, an alien with 4 arms and a kind smile, handed Nova a small bowl of fruit slices. "Free," she said. "Pretty girl deserves to eat." Nova blinked, confused. "Free?" she asked. The woman nodded. "Gift." Nova turned to Eli. "Gift? For me?" He smiled. "Yes." Nova looked down at the fruit. She held it like a treasure. Then she ate slowly, tasting each bite like it was magic. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but this time they weren't sad. Before leaving, Eli bought a pendant from a vendor, a tiny crystal on a black cord. He turned to Nova. "A name deserves a symbol." He placed the pendant around her neck. "This is yours." Nova touched it. "Mine." She held it over her heart. Nova." Eli nodded. "Yes, you're Nova, and no one will ever take that from you again." They left the trading post before sunset as they walked back into the trees. Nova turned once, looking behind her. The market, the voices, the clothes. The pendant, it all stayed in her mind. But she was leaving with something even bigger. A piece of herself, that night. By the fire, she danced. Not a big dance, not loud. Just small steps, soft turns. A movement of freedom. Eli watched her. She spun once, laughing, and for the first time he laughed with her. The girl he once found naked, silent, and lost in the forest, now wore her name, her dress, her smile like armor. The stars were soft that night, like tiny eyes watching from far above. Nova sat beside the fire, her white dress glowing under the moonlight. The crystal pendant on her chest shimmered gently with every breath she took. She wasn't shaking. She wasn't hiding. She was calm. Eli sat across from her, slowly sharpening his knife. He didn't need it for protection, now's just routine. Nova looked at him with a small smile. Today, ... I smiled 6 times. Eli raised an eyebrow. 6. She nodded proudly. Yes, once for the dress, once for the gift, twice for fruit, once for music, and once when you laughed. Eli smiled. Make that 7. She giggled, covering her mouth. 7. Then her face grew quiet. Not sad, just thoughtful. Before, I didn't know what smile meant, she said softly. Now it feels like sunlight inside. Eli nodded. That's a good way to say it. Nova looked up at the stars. They used to call me 42. Just a number. She touched her pendant. I am Nova. She looked at Eli. You gave me name, clothes, safety. I want to give something too. He tilted his head. You already did. No, she said gently.
More.
She stood and walked into the tent. When she returned, she held the old jacket, his jacket, the one he had first wrapped around her the day they met. It was folded neatly in her hands. She knelt in front of him. This was your kindness, she whispered. But now, I gave it back. I don't need it anymore. Eli reached out and touched the worn cloth. He could still remember how she had cried the first time she wore it. He shook his head slowly. Keep it. It was never mine after that day. Nova blinked. Then, I will keep it, but not as a cover. It's a memory. She stood, turned, and carefully hung it on a tree, branch high and proud. Like a flag, it swayed in the night breeze, full of quiet meaning. In the morning, something unexpected happened. A broadcast signal burst through Eli's old communicator. It wasn't a warning or a bounty notice this time. It was news. Lab 7 destroyed in fire. Subjects lost. No survivors. Nova listened quietly. That was their place, where I was made. Eli waited for her reaction, but she only whispered, Good. Then she stood up and picked a flower from the edge of the path. I want to go somewhere, she said. Where? She smiled. Anywhere. They walked through the jungle together, taking no path. They passed trees, rivers, and cliffs. At one point, Nova climbed a tall rock, arms wide. She shouted, I am not 42. I am Nova. The forest echoed her words back. Eli stood below, smiling. She looked down at him. Come up, he laughed. You're lighter than me. Then be brave like me, she teased. And he climbed. By evening, they reached a quiet meadow. Full of golden grass, Nova sat in the center, arms around her knees. Eli sat beside her. This place is mine now, she said. I will remember this field every time I close my eyes. Eli laid back in the grass. What do you see when you close your eyes now? She thought. Not metal walls, not pain, not commands. She smiled. I see firelight, warm food, a mirror, a dress, a hand holding mine. Then she added, I see a jacket, and a man who gave it without asking anything back. Eli turned, his head toward her. You don't owe me anything, Nova. She nodded. I know. That's why I want to stay. He blinked. Stay? He asked. Nova placed her hand gently over his. Yes, you gave me the first piece of freedom. I want to build the rest with you. Eli didn't speak for a moment. He just looked into her eyes. Not frightened, not lost, but full of something that had taken her so long to find belonging. Weeks later, a visitor arrived at the post. A soldier. He asked about a girl with silver skin and white hair. They say she vanished into the trees, the vendor said. Some say she died. Others say she changed. The soldier never found her. But if he had wandered deep into the jungle, beyond the rivers and hills, he might have seen a small wooden home built near the edge of a glowing lake. And inside that home, a girl danced. In the sunlight, her pendant sparkling, her dress flowing like wind, and by the fire. The old jacket still hung, not as a cover anymore, but as a sign of where it all began. Nova had learned many words, but one word now stayed in her heart. Forever, not. Subject, not lab, not number. Home.